I'm Asian American, Chinese to be more specific, female, 25 years of age. If you've heard about those stereotypes about how strict and traditional Asian parents are, well, you can imagine my mother, she's the perfect example of it. I've had a few problems with my mother in the past, but to put it simply, we think differently. But she'll always be my mom and I will always respect her. My father passed away some years ago and since then actually our mother-daughter relationship was very good for like a year. Maybe after the year was over, our old conflicts and old arguments came back to light. Our relationship's still good, even though I was almost an adult. I have to be honest and say that my mother became more controlling like a helicopter parent. It's like we live in a different world. She's more traditional. She lives stuck in the past. And I live here in the present moment. Recently, I've had a few dates with an African American man just in case someone I know in real life reads this right now or in the future. I'm going to call him David here. I like him. We get along very well. I'm sure we'll keep seeing each other, and you might not see it as a problem. I don't either, but I know for a fact that my mother will see. My mom will only accept a Chinese guy as my boyfriend. It doesn't matter how successful he is. If he's not Chinese, she's going to hate him, and I'm afraid she would hate me too. I'm confused about what I should do right now. I don't want to tell my mother about him. Not yet. On the other hand, I feel like I'm just becoming too paranoid. Every time that we go out, I get stressed and think what happens if somebody recognizes me and tells my mother what they've seen. That's would only make things worse. And at the same time, it's not fair to him. I'm already out of college while David is 26 years old and just started trade school. So that's also something my mother would not like. I can't imagine telling my mom that I'm dating a black man. I can see her completely losing her mind, and I don't know how much I can do to change her opinion. My dad had a clear vision of what my future should look like, and I'm afraid my mother would use my dad. Well, since he's dead to persuade me to stop seeing David. I don't want to disappoint my mother, but I visit her several times a week. I talk with her every day, and I just don't want my mom to feel lonely. I'm her only child, after all, and we don't have too many family members in the country. But if I were to ask her for just a little bit more freedom, she would find it disrespectful. The bitterness between us would come back. So I'm afraid of what I should do now. I don't know if we should watch a TV show with interracial couples just to see how badly she reacts. I don't know. Update number 1. 1 month ago, I told my mother about me and David. I keep thinking about it and kept thinking about it and thinking about it. Some of you told me to just do it because she was going to hate me anyways. You can imagine she was not happy. I went to her place. I made sure she was sitting down, and a few minutes later I confessed to her. I was dating David. My mom was dead silent at first, but then she exploded. I just never expected anything less. She asked me if I was joking and well when I said no. Well, to sum it all up, she basically said, I'm a traitor and I'm bringing dishonor upon the family. I said before that I was afraid my mother would use my father in his death against me. Yeah, that's exactly what she did. She repeated, think about your father and everything he did for you. She said that several times, just over and over like a parrot. Later that night, I cried a lot. I still feel really bad, but I also think this is exactly how my mom wants me to feel. Just like all of you who answered my first post in the comment section. My friends tell me the same thing, that I should just ignore my mother's wishes and focus on my relationship and my life, regardless of my mother's bigoted way of thinking. Yeah, I've thought about it, but even if I have support of my friends, I just cannot forget my mother. I really want her to be a part of my life and to feel proud of me. Well, I visited my mom a few times and she still calls me, but she treats me very coldly. I have asked her about her feelings and if she has changed her mind. But her answers are not positive in the last 2 weeks. If I try to tell her about David, my mom just tells me that she's going to ignore my relationship, as she hopes David and I will break up soon. She seems really sure of it, by the way. And when I expressed my desire and the possibility of the 3 of us going out to dinner, my mother asked me if I wanted to shame her in public. Yeah, well, following the failed invitation. It seems I gave my mother a new idea because she now constantly is harassing me with text messages, saying things such as, don't post pictures of you with him on the internet. Or are you sure you want to be around people while you hold hands with a non-Chinese man? She would say something like this and something like that. And something like this happened too when I was about 12. I befriended a normal white girl. She was very wary of basically everyone that does not have the same ethnic background to us. I've been really sad lately. It's been years, but I still cannot believe she's not changed a bit. She doesn't realize her behavior has been very detrimental to our relationship and me. David and I went out more. He was by my side at my best friend's birthday party. I can say we are an official couple now, however, until a few days ago, he did not know the fact that my mother does not want me to be his girlfriend. Yeah, I kept it a secret because I don't want to hurt his feelings, and the thing is, I'm still with him, even though my mother does not want us to be together. Isn't that enough evidence that I'm choosing him over my mom? Whatever. He got really upset with me. He gave me the silent treatment for 2 days. It was our first fight. There's an elephant in the room now and he can't say why he's angry. Update number 2. 3 months have passed, I think 7 weeks ago. My mother broke her own promise and stopped ignoring my relationship since then. She tells me, honey, I love you. Can you please stop the pain and forget that man for good? Something along those lines at least once a week. Without fail, I did my best just to put myself first. I love my work so much, so most of my time, my energy is on it. I tried my best to set boundaries with my mother. We spent whole days just well together talking about childhood, all the good and bad of our entire lives, and at the end of the day, I told her I need to live my life, that I have a college degree and a nice job. I'm a functional adult capable of making sound decisions about my romantic life, that she simply could not be a helicopter mother anymore if she wanted to be present in my life. My mom acted like she understood my feelings and was about to try to change some of her behavior of bad attitude towards the modern world. But no, of course it didn't happen. I have to add something else here. David and I went to more places together. Great. Everything seemed to be okay, but I realized we always go out with my friends. I've never met any of his friends or family members, and apparently he never intended to. When I mentioned this one day, he got very angry out of the blue. Just one little question. I thought it was a harmful one. He screamed at me. I was scared. He brushed it off saying I did not need to, and I can't say another word because he basically lectured me for something so basic said. After that incident, we've had a few more arguments. Unfortunately, David, well, he has anger issues. I'm trying to be supportive and I've stopped asking him to go as a couple and get lunch with some of his friends. He repeats the same line over and over. I'm not ready to talk about it. Going back to my mother now, she's taken refuge in my social media. I was not aware of it until my best friend told me about it, but my mom is sharing these quotes about the different sacrifices the parents make to give a good life to their children. How hard it is to raise good children these days. Post about how to be grateful or how to be strong when children don't listen and don't want to do what their parents want them to do. I was shocked, and I'm still shocked. All of those posts were indirectly directed at me. I feel offended. I can't believe my mother's complaining on social media. She has comments from one of my aunts, a few cousins and old friends. She won because, well, when I read all of that, I felt ashamed and I can see clearly now she's shameless, airing her dirty laundry in public. If my mother has a problem with my decision in life, I don't understand why she has to involve family and acquaintances. At the end of the day, I know I'm not hurting anybody. If my mother's unwilling to accept new ideas, that's her problem. Maybe I'm lucky. I genuinely wanted my mother to get along with my boyfriend. Things being what they are, I would just implore her to leave us alone and stop embarrassing herself on the internet. Although I think she's enjoying the attention she's getting and I'm well aware she will not leave us alone these days. She lives in order just to criticize my relationship. I'll not talk to her anymore unless she apologizes for everything and drops the drama for good. I can't deal with it. I'm tired. Update number 3. Hey guys, I'm here again about 30 days later. I'm happy to report to you all that my mother has been quiet about David and our relationship lately. She's not apologized. I'm sure that's simply too much for her. I did not call her, and if she called me, I did not answer any of her phone calls. My phone was ringing 3 to 4 times every day. This went on for a week or so. She texted me too. Most of the time it was just about her day and asking how I was doing. Fortunately, I did not get the usual accusations of me being a traitor or what I think is her favorite line. You need to do better. I did what I said I was going to do, not even one visit to my mom's house these last 4 weeks. Unfortunately, my mother, the drama queen, still shares her thoughts about me with the internet. These days, her posts are getting worse because she's now sharing private things that happened between us and some of her stuff. I said, well, I did it when I was a teenager. At the end of one of them, she wrote this word for word I should have known. Back then this was not right. I let it pass, and now it's time to pay the price of my lazy parenting. I didn't think I'll ever forgive all those posts. Not only sharing silly things I did in the past as a child, but also all her attempts to frame me as some horrible daughter. After 2 weeks without seeing each other, my mother came to my place one Saturday morning. We had a conversation and she did not scream at me, which was something good, but she was still angry and showed it. You don't answer my calls. How dare you? You know, I live alone. What are you going to do if someone thinks just bad happens to me and I end up in the hospital and because you're full of yourself and throwing a tantrum, you don't hear about me? She told me this, and at this point, I'll accept her actions and do my best to move on. I'm conscious I should not disclose my problems in private life with her anymore, seeing that she likes to write about it the next day on social media. I found out something else about my boyfriend's family. Turns out my mother and his family have a lot in common. This is where it gets interesting. David's parents do not want me to be his girlfriend either, and his friends don't like me. Please, just for the record, remember, I've never met any of his friends or family, so how did I find out? We also had an argument, but at least he ended up telling the truth afterwards. We were in a restaurant crowded, and David and I bumped into 2 of his friends. They saw me and immediately said a very, very insensitive thing about my appearance. According to them, my boyfriend included. It was just a joke, let me tell you. It was not only a joke, it was about my appearance and our relationship they made. In those 10 minutes, the 3 of them were together laughing while I just stood there. I thought David was going to tell them to stop after the first or second joke, and I say joke like that because come on. It wasn't a joke. He did nothing. I remained silent and I felt extremely disrespected by his two friends, and I guess I also felt let down or betrayed by David later. We had a long conversation and worst of all, he was angry with me for not laughing at his friends' jokes. He seriously thought there was nothing wrong with them and even told me I was overreacting. I could not believe my ears. My boyfriend completely dismissed my feelings. I will not write the joke here and I don't want to repeat it. Actually, I wish I could erase it from my memory, but I'm just going to say they were obscene and my ethnicity was involved. I'm so embarrassed that even my best friends has not heard about this incident. Later on, I decided to press him about his parents. He confessed. His parents and siblings were not happy when he announced our relationship. Now I understand why he got angry every time I told him I wanted to meet his friends and parents. I have mixed feelings. David does not care about any of the commitments made by his family and friends. He still talks with them as if nothing had happened. I was expecting him to feel at least a bit uncomfortable or that he would stand up and defend herself. But here I am, but barely talk with my mother nowadays because I strongly believe she's just being disrespectful towards my boyfriend, and I'm confused and I don't know what to do. Update. Number 4, final update posted by OP. It's been a couple months since I've wrote here. I think this is going to be my last, chapter or whatever they call it. Where do I start? My mother was sharing my private life for the internet to see, and we barely talked to each other, and if we did, we would treat each other so coldly. My boyfriend did not bother to stand up for me when I was being disrespected, and that incident made me feel worthless. I felt confused. I felt angry. My mental health was not good at all. I could not talk with anybody. My friends or the people I thought were my friends said they were tired of my complaining, so I had nobody around that was willing to listen. Things got worse with my mom. My uncle called me weird. Well, I got scared for a second. Maybe some family member had died, but nobody died, but the call almost killed me. He basically scolded me for being a bad daughter, my uncle, and he told me I'm rebellious and that I should treat my mother better. The last call was 20 minutes, and in those minutes he tried to organize my entire life, telling me how I'm supposed to live and even had the nerves to say that I was born to make my mother happy. He's had seen all the social media posting written by mother. His comments made my blood boil. I ended the call and went the same day to my mom's place. And when I arrived at my mother's neighborhood, an old Chinese lady greeted me. I know her. She's friends with my mom. This woman looks at me and tells me straight to my face, you should be grateful. Your mother loves you so much. She's suffering because of you. I just think you're simply disgusting. Well, I tried my best not to scream at her. Nevertheless, I was very rude, but I wanted to be left alone. And then my uncle called, and after I encountered this old lady, a stranger, both of them already siding with my mom, both of them trying to fix my life. Well, I kind of lost it. Looking back, I'm not proud of the things I said to this old lady. A few minutes later, my mother and I had a shouting match. She seriously thought that if she shared the details of my private life with people on the interwebs and people who knew I would have a change of heart, I would become the daughter she always wanted. My mother to this day sees herself as a victim. Of course, I'm the perpetrator, the dirty daughter. The good thing I've done are completely forgotten and not spoken about. And according to my mom, David is as evil as the devil. Well, thanks to everybody who rooted for me and David. Unfortunately, the reason this is the last update, we are no longer together. You may say my mother won, but in reality, we barely talk to each other. After our last fight, I don't think she wants to see me for the time being, and I decided to break up with him for other reasons. The fact that he laughed around with his comments made by his friends, that was one of them. I did explain why those words hurt me. You're acting irrational, is what he told me. So I thought deeply about it, and his family shared my mother's idea that the two of us were simply not meant to be. Maybe this relationship was denied from the get-go. It was destined for disaster. For now, I think I'm better alone. My well-being is my main focus. You can be sure as heck I've learned my lesson. If anything, I'm keeping my life as private as I can. The most important thing, the best part, is that I got rid of the unhealthy relationship I had with my mother. I feel less anxious now. I got to give credit to David. If it was not for him, I would still be making excuses. Just to not think about the controlling nature of my mom. She'll always be my mother, but I need to be far away from her for at least 2 years. So to me, this story was actually rather sad. I mean, OP was getting hit from every angle, but she seemed like a warrior. It was to me, the fact that her boyfriend did not even stand up to her in front of his friends. That was completely a red flag. And not to mention the relationship ended up not even working out, but it still caused so much turbulence between OP and her mother. And like OP said, I don't think that's going to be fixed anytime soon. It's just that the mother sees